Privacy concerns continue to cripple the expansion of Chinese tech company Huawei in the U.S. and other Western nations. And now the U.K. is slated to be the latest country to follow America's decision to block cooperation with the tech giant's bids to aid in the launch of 5G mobile phone connectivity around the world. The UK's Defense Secretary Gavin Williamson said of the company, quote, "I have grave, very deep concerns about Huawei providing the 5G network in Britain. It's something we'd have to look at very closely." The telecom company has already been blocked from building high-speed networks in the U.S., Australia, and New Zealand. Canada has put the company under security review, and UK service provider BT is removing Huawei kit from the core of its 5G network. Meanwhile, Germany is in search of more information before coming to a final decision on working with the company. This past month has been filled with turmoil for the tech company since the arrest of their CFO. China has been at odds with Canada and other Western powers. Both the UK and Canada accuse Huawei of espionage, the UK going as far as to cut Huawei out of its existing 4G network. Amidst a back-and-forth battle between China and Canada, leading up to Wanzhou's trial, where Wanzhou was released on bail set at more than $10 million on December 11th. This all comes following Canada's demands last week that China release the two Canadians being detained in apparent retaliation. Joining me now to discuss this further is former UK MP George Galloway. Welcome back, George. Thank you so much. Now, the UK Defense Ministry may have a valid concern about Huawei's intentions, but correct me if I'm wrong. Aren't the UK and the US the biggest offenders of spying and collecting data on its own citizens?
Well, actually, you've hit the nail on the head. That's the real reason behind the antipathy towards Huawei, in my view, from these five governments. You mentioned they were Western governments. Actually, some of them are not Western, but all of them are white Anglo-Saxon Protestant countries. They're all the fruit of the British Empire. Canada, Australia, New Zealand, the United States and Britain are making a common front against Huawei. It's partly protectionism, but I think it's largely, as you just pointed to, that they don't want a Chinese company to be in on the deal of 5G, because then we'd all know that the others were spying on us. We see a revelation every day. Facebook, Google, Amazon, all these big companies are hand in glove with the governments of their countries, principally your own government, and they don't want a Chinese company to get whiff of that, and thus they need to construct an entirely false allegation that Huawei is some kind of security risk.
George, as you said earlier, the U.S., Australia, and New Zealand, they've all restricted Huawei's involvement in the 5G network, and the U.S. is even going as far as pressuring other countries to take action against the firm. Now, aside from the U.K., do you believe other countries are looking to do the same?
I don't really, and from a British point of view, Ashlee, we're leaving the EU in about 90 days or less, and we are busily constructing hostile and aggressive relations with both Russia and China, who together are economic behemoths. Makes you wonder who Britain's going to be friends with, who we're going to trade with when we leave the European Union in 90 days or so. But other countries, like Germany, like France, are by no means as keen on hostility towards Russia and China as these Five Eyes, these five white Anglo-Saxon Protestant countries are.
Well, Germany is claiming that Huawei, claims against Huawei spying on customers aren't backed up by evidence. What do you say to that?
Well, they're not, but there's plenty of evidence that these big U.S. corporations are spying on us. Facebook is in a scandal every week, almost every day, about what it's doing with its customers' data without their knowledge or consent. So if you're going to ban someone because of a risk that they might be spying, there's a whole list of companies ahead of Huawei in the queue. And the arrest, I said it here on this show a few weeks ago, the arrest of the SFO, the Huawei daughter of the founder of Huawei in Canada, was going to lead to very, very big trouble. And so I believe it will.
These restrictions are coming at a time where the U.S. and China are holding talks over trade and future relationship between both countries. What can this do to U.S.-China relations?
Well, I hope that they can stabilize. It's very odd that President Trump is doing the right thing in many areas now of the world, but doing entirely the wrong thing when it comes to Iran and China. One hopes that it's part of his deal-making bluster, followed by talking Turkey and making a deal. One hopes that. But if it isn't, then sailing warships in the South China Sea, the clue being in the name, and causing the arrest of the daughter of senior figures in the Chinese People's Republic is only going to lead in one direction, to more and more hostility and even war.
George, we're going to leave it right there. Thank you so much.
Hey YouTube, thanks for checking out our channel. We hope you enjoyed the video. We have tons of content for you just like this. For more of RT America's one-of-a-kind news and analysis, be sure to subscribe and never stop questioning more.